What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. I'm on with Chargers defensive tackle Morgan Fox. Morgan, how are you? And more importantly, how's Winston?
I'm good. He's doing good. He's still got some shows. Thanks for having me. It's
Oh
good
yeah,
to
he's got some shows coming up. What's
yeah. I think
the?
he's got a couple more. He's out with my grandma. My grandma likes to show him, so
Oh,
she's showing him through about August.
oh, right on. Nice. Well, best of luck to him. Best of luck to your grandma, of course. Got to start with the burning question because this one just came up yesterday. Jason Levine revealed that you and Bash are on Hot Ones coming up this fall. How'd you hold up, man? Did you prep for that?
I don't think you can prep for it. Like any as hot as you think they are, it's about 5 times worse.
Really?
So it was luckily it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but they definitely got some heat behind them.
Okay. Did you are you a hot wings kind of guy, or is it just like
Oh, I definitely am. I like spicy food.
okay?
Growing up with spicy food, so but it's a different kind of heat for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And did you have to practice the next day after that?
No, thank God. Today we did not.
Yeah.
We had to lift.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah, I was gonna ask if there were any regrets the next day, I guess.
Nah.
All right. So one question I've been dying to ask then, back to football now. Since Joey talked about it on Drew's podcast like a year ago, he talked about how it took him 4 years to see his body really match what he wanted. And that's saying a lot from someone like Joey Bosa, who was defensive rookie of the year that year. So he was talking about like the arch in his back, ankle flexion, that sort of thing. I know you guys don't play the same position, but there are similar demands. So is 4 years like generally how long it takes for rushers to see that kind of physical change? And how have you changed in that regard since entering the league?
I definitely think that it takes time, to kind of see that physical change of where you want your body at in these
Hmm.
situations. Like what weight do I rush at the best? Where do I ankle strength, shoulder strength, everything you kind of need, core strength, like realizing what the important parts of your body are for rushing. Um, I think for me, it's been a little different just because I've always had to change kind of like what position am I playing. I don't really know what weight I
Right.
have to be at. Coming off of being released by the Panthers, coming in here, I didn't really know. I was probably a little too light last year. Didn't really know what weight I needed to be coming in here. So having to work it out. So now, the blessing of this season is coming back to the same team and knowing where they wanted me. I was able to work towards a weight that I wanted to be at in a good way, and then be able to kind of train towards that end of like, okay, how do I rush really well at a weight that I'm happy at?
Yeah. I know last year you talked about, especially when all these guys were going down, that you had to embrace the run and get better against the run and all that sort of stuff because so many guys were getting hurt. Was your change in weight, your physical shape, or whatever part of that as well? Of you improving over the second half of the season against the run?
I think it was probably part of it. You kind of get that second half of the season, everybody gains weight. You get the holiday weight, and you start eating a little different.
Okay.
But honestly, I think a lot of the improvement against the run was, opportunity against the run, being able to get those plays in and just see more plays. And then, we really drilled it at practice,
Mm.
and after practice, with the coaching staff and really drilling it, finding, watching a lot of film and then getting a lot better at it just from practicing it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I did want to bring up here, I have a video more just for the video audience. I don't need you to break it down unless you'd love to, in which, of course, I'd love to hear that. But one of the more interesting stats that came my way the last couple of weeks was that specifically the four-man front of you, Bash, Chris, and Khalil, those four guys last year at almost a 70% pressure rate. That was the second best pressure rate of any four-man group in the entire NFL last year. Um, I wouldn't have maybe guessed that for, obviously if I'm guessing, I would assume Joey Bosa were on there or something, right? But this four-man group specifically and what you're able to do at the line of scrimmage with stunts and whatnot was really effective with pressure rate. So talk about like why this was so effective. Again, this is just one play for the video audience or for yourself, but there were obviously more plays than this. Why was this particular four-man combination so effective?
I mean, I wish I could honestly point out like a particular reason, but
Sure.
I think we just all, play really well off each other. And Chris is really good at, playing off of me when I have a real tendency to just fire off and try to get vertical as fast as I can. So Chris did a really good job playing off of me and bringing power to a lot of rushes that a guy kind
Hmm.
of his size, a lot of people don't expect. And Chris, is pretty good at bringing power in those situations. So we played really well off of each other as a group. And then as time went on, um, we kind of all learned like who does what really well. So,
Mm,
me and Khalil developed a really good, chemistry on like what's he going to do with him, what am I going to do. Me
mhm.
and Bash have, always played really well off of each other. And then, me and Chris over time, developed. He knew where I was going to go. I kind of knew how he liked to rush, and then it was a lot of it was just, hey, if we're out here, pin your ears back and go. I think that's where we're at our best is when we're just told to pin our ears back and go get the quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic to hear. I think the sample size and then it being like 13 of these rushes you guys had together. So not like this particular 4. Obviously, you went with Chris a lot or Kyle or whoever, but still at that threshold, second best in the NFL is awesome. So I'm sure there's more to come. Obviously, when guys get hurt, obviously Joey Bosa early on, other guys on the defensive line. Does the playbook shrink or does it expand? Because on the one hand, you've lost guys, so maybe you think it would shrink. On the other hand, maybe you're trying to manufacture more pressures. How does that change when you start losing guys?
I think because of like the mentality of the guys we have, we were fortunate enough that the playbook didn't shrink, and we have a lot of guys who are very versatile. Being able to play, bump me down from the wide 5 and certain overloads to a shade, and be able to
Mhm.
put Kyle in there, or have Bash run certain things. Like being able to plug and play guys at different positions and guys succeed is a big strength that we have. So it doesn't. We were fortunate in that aspect of the playbook not having to shrink. Now, obviously, you definitely miss a talent like Joey out there. You can't
Sure.
replace that. He's a great guy, great player. So it definitely doesn't shrink our playbook.
Hmm. Yeah, no, great to hear. One of the things I was always so impressed with, and listen, I'm not even over 200 pounds, and me talking about defensive line is hilarious. But just watching you, it feels like, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. It feels like when you're rushing, whether it's after a spin or you're sidestepping or whatever, when you get to the quarterback, I feel like you uniquely, just watching you, are able to close that gap so much better than a lot of guys that I've seen. Like you just are uniquely good at that, I think. Is that something you practice with like Coach Ed, for example? Like you just working the drills all the time. So as soon as you are out of that spin move, you know where to go. How have you worked that? Because I feel like just watching you, that's something you're really good at. I don't know if you noticed that or.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I think every D line coach that I've had from when I was a rookie till now, it's kind of been an emphasis, not necessarily that particular part, but it's always the emphasis is finding ways to shave time off of a rush. To
Mm-hmm.
change something from a hit to a sack or a pressure to a hit. How do we change that? And that is one of those things that when we actually had a coach come in, Coach Henney with the Rams came in and
Mm-hmm.
really started helping us drill that of like, hey, that when you finish a move, sprint. And that really developed it. And obviously, Coach Ed, I got to give him a shout out. He's big on that. Where, every drill, there's a cone or there's something, you got to sprint to the cone as fast as you can. And then Coach Jay here it's big on burst to the quarterback after everything. So it's kind of one of those things of, once you make it a habit, you just kind of, you're like, all right, if I can shave an eighth of a second off just because I run a little bit harder, I got to close the distance.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. And it really does show you got a heck of a 1-2 punch, like Coach Ed, then you go with Jay. Like that's a heck of a 1-2 to work with. What do you pick up from each of those guys? Obviously there's overlap and similar things, but like, what are you picking up from each of those guys? And then just going into this year 7 for you, what are you working on heading into year 7?
So I think as far as like what I pick up from those guys, Coach Jay has worked with really good players through his whole career. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
look at he's worked with that Broncos D line that was incredible when they had that run. Pot roast. Shout out to Coach Knighton, that's my guy. Pot roast, Vaughn, Malik Jackson, like all those guys he had were really good. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of pick his brain on how did these guys do it? With the Bears, they had that incredible defensive D line. So how did you guys do this? What was their mentality on these things? And learning from him, especially in the run game, I feel like I've improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sitting down and talking to Jay, he's been able to, help a guy with my body type play, these bigger runs, these double teams that I got pretty good at playing towards the end of the season. And that's a big credit to Coach Jay. And then, Ed, it's almost like a collaborative effort. I can sit there with Eddie and be like, hey, and he's real brutally honest with me. Like, you need to get better at this. We'll drill it 1,000 times and we'll
Yeah.
watch it on we'll record it, we'll watch it, we'll do it again. We'll record it, we'll watch it, we'll do it again. So being able to be really open and honest with both of them has helped me just become a better player, especially over the last, the course of the last half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And, going into the year, I definitely want to, for me personally, want to get better at rushing from certain spots that I kind of struggled at last year, being head up over a center, being able to rush better from there or shade, finding ways to win. And then in the run game, just being kind of taking what I did at the, second half of the season and starting a lot faster at that. Now I know how to play it, know where I fit in the run scheme, and be able to make those, kind of splash plays I did all year instead of just the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. And kind of like gives me chills because that second half. I mean, listen, you were awesome the whole year. Don't get me wrong, but like you really started racking up those numbers the second half of the year. So that's fantastic. What do you really think it is with all these defensive tackles? I think just was randomly looking at like Pro Football Focus. They had a list of the top 10 D tackles, and they're all really, really, really good, just up and down the line. And there were still so many guys missing. Like, why are D tackles just getting so much better? It feels like over the last few years.
Honestly, I wish I could tell you. I think it's just, guys are starting to emphasize certain things. You got big, strong guys that come in that come from schools that have coaches that make them super technically sound. So, and then they're being put in positions and given opportunities that let them succeed. Being able to pin guys' ears back and go, you have these guys that are athletic freaks that can really, put their hand down now in a passing league and go after quarterbacks, where 10, 15 years ago, it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You couldn't really showcase your athleticism. And now you have guys that are, 300 pounds that run anywhere from a 4.6 to a 4.8, can bench a house, squat a house, and then they get to rush. They have good power. They're understanding pass rush now. So I think that's just kind of where it's going, is guys are realizing where they can make plays and they're doing it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, Morgan, thank you so much for jumping on with me, man. Thank you for your time, of course. Have an excellent year. Start strong, stay healthy. Wishing you all the best.
I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me.
Take care.